Hi, my name is Valerie Waitley. I teach professional communication at Midway High School. Prior to teaching, my husband and I owned our business and I was a corporate trainer. I really enjoy teaching high school students because they are goofy and fun. If this is what you are seeing or hearing when you deliver a PowerPoint, perhaps you are using PowerPoint the way I just did in my introduction slide. Maybe you're using it for bullet points, reading point for point. Now, perhaps you're even adding inflection, but nonetheless, you're reading. So maybe we need to review. What is PowerPoint? Well, it's not a textbook, and it's not a notes replacement, and it's not notes for the speaker to remember what to say. And it should not be a distraction, creating that internal noise in your listener's head. If they're just going to read the slides to me, can I just have the PowerPoint and go home and read it myself? PowerPoint is a visual aid. It should enhance the presentation. Now, how many of you guys have seen slides like this? I was at a student council convention and almost every speaker read slides to me. See, this is actually a student slide for a project that we're going to do in class. It's about the Latvian greeting. And I'm sorry to say that I have seen way too many presenters who create slides like this. Now, in all fairness, their intentions are often well met. It isn't because they don't know their subject and they are needing speaker's notes to be able to present. Many times, the rationale behind this type of presentation is for the listeners to have access to all the important information. But what happens when you, as the learner, observer, or audience, what happens when you see a slide like this? Yeah, you start trying to read every word. So are you listening? Or maybe you get overwhelmed and just tuned out. I know you don't practice taking notes, and you're not analyzing or processing or making connections or synthesizing the information. And you're not creating a memorable mental picture that will help you remember the information. But PowerPoint is a tremendously amazing tool to create visual aids. Now, we used to have to buy posters or attempt to draw or write on the chalkboard or maybe even show like a reel-to-reel movie or a VHS. But what if we used PowerPoint for the way that it was intended? Remember the slide I just showed you with all the words? What if instead we did something like this? The Latvian people greet each other by shaking hands with each other. They also hold eye contact. And sometimes the women give a light kiss. Touching in Baltic countries is common when you know the person, but not a lot if it's the first time you see them. For example, in Spain, when you meet a new person, it is common to give 2 kisses. In Finland, they give the hand, and the duration, frequency, and location of the touch are largely culturally based. They do not readily smile, especially at strangers, and are not comfortable making small talk. This kind of behavior can seem austere or serious, but some of the veneer will eventually disappear. Now, wasn't that better than a bunch of words? And see, there's another really cool feature about PowerPoint. If you're concerned about remembering what to say, well, use the notes feature. While creating PowerPoint, you can also be creating your speaker's notes. Give yourself reminders, and I even include animation clicks to remind me how to time my picture entrances. And when you're finished, go to Print, Settings, Slides, and Notes pages and print out the notes like these. The notes I need for each slide are included with the slide. Now, it doesn't matter your subject matter because following can be applied to any of your subjects. Let's say I wanted to convince you to go somewhere like Fiji. Now, I could give you lots of information like this. Now, this is fantastic information, and if you actually took the time to read it, like a good student would, you might even be convinced to go to Fiji. But you would have to overcome the desire to simply tune out the information. And if you were reading like maybe you're doing now, are you really listening to me? Now, why not transfer all of this information into the notes section on PowerPoint and pick out some key phrases like, 333 magnificent islands, or white sandy beaches, or maybe swaying coconut, or pristine ocean and waterways. You get the idea. Then use the pictures to, say, represent the 333 islands, or the swaying coconut trees, or the white sandy beaches, or the pristine waterways. See what I'm saying? And then you can actually discuss the additional information because the information is in the notes. The thing is, because your audience can visualize and therefore relate to what you are saying, you most likely have them engaged in the topic. Now, you're going to be doing a project where you have to inform your audience about great places to visit. Look at what some of your fellow students have created. Note the enticing and memorable features of the slide. The location is clear, the tone is welcoming, and the picture is vivid. When attracting visitors to a location, it is helpful to discuss climate while identifying the location. Note that this clearly identifies the location with very few words. And because the pictures aren't distracting, the audience is more likely listening to the presenter. The presenters are often afraid of forgetting what to say, so I encourage you to use the notes feature, as well as making sure that the PowerPoint visual aid is an enhancement to the presentation. Few words, visual enhancements, help communicate the message without being a distraction. And if you don't want your audience distracted trying to figure out what the visual aid is depicting, use the words you do have to label each picture. And again, if you looked at the notes sections of this presentation, you would see that they have detailed, important information that they're going to present to their audience about each of the attractions. Can you imagine trying to describe the London Eye of Big Ben to someone who hasn't seen a Ferris wheel or seen one of the world's biggest clock towers? But a picture gives the listener something to cling to, and that's the value of the visuals. And now the audience is listening to the presenter and the presentation and can attach the important information to the picture. Still pictures, clip art pictures, sounds, animated and timed entrances are some of the enhancements that are available to you. And you guys have also seen presentations with a little bit more. So, what do you do now? Well, it was my hope that this would help inspire or motivate you to use PowerPoint as an effective visual aid. Keep in mind, this isn't a technical class, but what you do have available to you when you go to create a PowerPoint is your help button. There's fantastic tips and strategies on how to add some of the cool features of PowerPoint. Google's one of the most amazing tools. There are actual tutorials available to you. And of course, there are books and things like PowerPoint for Dummies or Step-by-Step PowerPoint. And you know what? Don't forget, friends and family often are great tools and resources for you. Just remember, it's not about PowerPoint for the flashiness or technology for the flashiness, but about using the visual aid for clear communication, because that is the goal.